All right, my friends, how are you today? Aaron here bringing you this eclipse season, eclipse week horoscope. Right now, the moon is moving into the sign of Pisces, out of Aquarius, out of the community social, into the place of belief, into the place of imagination, into our place of spirituality and religion, right? And at the same time, our sun is over here in the sign of Aries, just past the north node here, the part of the eclipse, and in between Chiron and the north node. The north node, of course, telling us to go in the direction of self, okay? Meaning learn yourself. Go in the direction of what you need to do to learn, what you need to do to heal yourself, what you need to do to heal concepts and ideas that maybe the community has placed and bestowed its concepts of religious beliefs, dogmas, ideas of how the world has been created before you were even born. So, this is a big eclipse, and this is important as the sun, or the moon, goes through Pisces the next couple of days into meeting up with the sun and Chiron for this eclipse on Monday. So, imagine the chicken and the egg, all right? The chicken, let's say the chicken came first, but you are the chicken, all right? Let's say there's just you in this world. Let's say that's it. You open eyes, you don't know how you got here. You don't know who you are. You don't know what this world is around you. The word world doesn't exist. Words don't exist because there's nobody to communicate with. There's no one to tell you about the Big Bang. There's no one to tell you about what nationality you are, what race you are, what gender you are. There's just observation through your eyes into this outside world. Okay, we know nothing. This is a clean slate. This is part of what this eclipse is about, is a clean slate. And here we have observational universe, right? There is no universe without mind into it first. And now here we are with zero outside influences, with the exception of the universe itself outside, telling us what the universe is. So the universe now is going to begin to show us what it is, okay? So there is no faith, there's no belief in religion, there's just the present moment. Now, self, we're just going to say self. Self is now observing this reality, okay? And in the daytime, the sun is up, and we see the sun, we see this light. We see and feel the warmth of the sun. We begin to see that nature grows. These plants grow. We begin to see animals around us in the light. And some of these animals are going to eat these plants. Okay. So we think to ourselves, I'm going to try to eat some of these plants. And we learn that plants have nutrients in them. And we can eat some things, and we realize that this upsets our stomachs or makes us vomit or ill, okay? Stay away from those plants or those berries. Red and blue are good for you, green and yellow kill a fellow. Olds are old, So no one was around to teach you that yet, right? So there's just us in the observable universe. In the observable universe, we see the plants grow. We see the animals eating the plants. We see animals begin to mate. We see that there appears to be two different kinds in the same species, which appears in our observable universe, an observable eye. And we see one of these two seems to mount the other. Now, whether that's a feline or a dog or a wolf, a bear, a horse, a goat, a sheep, we observably see this. We see one of them mount the other. Okay. We begin to see reproduction in nature. Okay. Now, this has all been done in the light. Of course, this is over time, but we also now experience the dark, the lack of light. We experience the moon. We experience the phases of the moon. All right. We begin to see the predators come out at nighttime, the things that aren't out in the light. Those big cats, those wild wolves or dogs that can smell your cooking. Or maybe you didn't cook, you didn't learn fire yet. But they can smell you, your sweat. Maybe they could smell something. And they try to attack you. So to preserve your own life, you end up taking out that other animal. And maybe we learn this is meat, this is protein, this is a source of food. They were coming after me for food. Just like the plants, maybe I can eat them for food. And we learn about the nutrients and the powerful protein of meat. Okay, we learn about fish. We observe the world and we try to navigate it. Okay, and now there's no religion yet. There's no structure as far as dogma or a belief or any concept of how we got here or where we're going or what's going on. There's just, I'm alive. There's, I'm surviving. I'm coexisting with nature, the plants, these animals. Some of these animals I can get along with. Some of these animals want to eat me, you know? And we can then begin to see where our faith starts to set in now, okay? Because we might have a battle with that cougar, that panther, the mountain lion, whatever, over our life, over our food, the things that we've gone out and stored, okay? And we had fought for our lives, and we won. And maybe for the first time, we might break down and cry and thank something outside of self. That somehow in this predator-filled night, in this darkness, we overcame a very lethal force. And maybe when the sun comes up, we stop and we are so thankful and we get teary-eyed. Thank you for the sun, for saving me from that dark night. Thank you, the sun that rises, the sun that grows this food. Maybe it's been winter. We don't know what winter is yet, right? We don't know that there's a winter. We don't know that there's a summer or a spring or an autumn. We don't know this yet. We're just observing. No one's told us what the world is. So maybe it's been winter and we've been starving and the food isn't growing and we don't understand why. And we're looking at the sun, it's dry, and all of a sudden it rains. Oh my God, and then it starts raining from our eyes because we're so happy and thankful because we've learned through our observational universe, through our days of being alive, that this rain is going to add water to the soil and the sun is going to allow these plants to grow. And behold, there's grains, there's fruits, there's vegetables, vegetation. I can eat once again. And now once again, so I can praise the sun for saving me from the night. I can praise the sun and be grateful for the sun for shining its light on the food. I can praise the rain and give thanks to the rain for the water. Otherwise, I can understand that I wouldn't live. I couldn't survive. I'd get dehydrated. I have to drink. I have to have that water. I can begin to praise and be grateful for the grains, right? This is where the foundation of our religions come from. This is the foundation, okay? And when we look at our current society, we can look, okay, back up. Yesterday I had a conversation with one of my friends and we're talking about this eclipse. And he said, oh, I heard they moved it from Sunday to Monday. I said, what? He says, yeah, on the internet they're talking about they moved the eclipse from Sunday to Monday. And I said, man, I can tell you the exact time for every eclipse in the next 20 years with pinpoint accurate information. All I have to do is plug it into my software here, and we know exactly where the sun and the moon are going to be to the exact minute, which is why we know exactly when this eclipse is going to be. This is mathematics. This is science, okay? So we observably begin to see the patterns of time. Right? Time is man-made, but it's not. It's like there's wanderers in the sky, which we call planets. Planet is wanderer in Greek. And then there's these fixed stars, these fixed clusters that seem to not move, right? So we see these wanderers moving in these fixed clusters, and we see our sun have these repeating patterns. And all of these things seem to move at their own different timing. Okay, so we understand time. We start to understand mathematics. And because we're calculating when the sun returns or how many days, we can mark it onto a tree. We begin to create sounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, so on, right? 360, 365. And then it loops again, and the sun comes back up north again, right? So we begin to understand not only mathematics, but we understand the geometry. All right, we begin to observe the geometry around us, and we begin to see and tell. There's no TVs, there's no nothing for us, right? There's the observable universe. So then we can call these little star clusters whatever we want. We can create a sound for them, just like we've created a sound for apple. We've created a sound for banana. We've created a sound for this cluster of stars. We've created a sound for that cluster of stars. And we can create a concept of knowing when the sun is in this cluster of stars, this is what the weather is going to be like. Observable universe. It's wintertime. Right now it's springtime. We're observing that the sun has passed over the equator and bringing more light to the northern hemisphere than the past 6 months when the sun passed over the equator going south, right, in Libra. So now we're celebrating the Aries equinox with the sun moving up. So the world is going to tell you lots of different stuff, lots of different stories. Again, we moved the eclipse to better fit it in time with our social, political agendas. No, you can't move when the moon is going to align with the sun. That's predetermined, and it's only up to us to calculate those times, right? So the point of me stating all of this is that we can observe what's happening here, all right? And then we can partially say, well, like, I don't use this. I don't use this information anymore. Why is this information even important to me? Well, the fact is that we do use it. But right now, we are in the age of Aquarius, okay, which is digital technology, not Leo, this heart sun-centered area. This is the time 12,000 years ago, approximately, when the Sphinx was built. All right. Technology. This meaning analog, we would watch the sun with our eyes. We would simply observe where the sun is moving on its daily basis. We would learn from that. We would learn from the star clusters by learning that, by observing it, right? Here, now in this age of Aquarius, look what I'm using. I'm not pointing to the stars. I'm pointing to a digital image of where all the stars are because we've mathematically and geometrically tracked it out to its perfection, okay? And then every day on your phone or your calendar, it tells you what day of the week it is. It tells you what month of the year it is. So technology is taking the place. Okay, we don't have to drop to our knees and give thanks for the sun rising or give thanks for the rain or give thanks for the grains like we once used to. You can walk into your local Fred's, your Ralph's, Meijer, Walmart, whatever it is, and there's so much food that you didn't have to grow, that you didn't have to do anything for, that's also being kept alive by technology, by refrigeration, by lights, by little mists of water that's going on. Technology. You don't have to go hunt for food anymore, okay? Our world has drastically changed over thousands of years. And we still have old mentality, old world things that are trying to come in here and tell you what the world is, right? So I wanted to start this off with that. Who are we in this observable universe? And we can see why we would start to begin to praise something. We were going to praise the sun because it saved us from the night. We're going to praise perhaps an animal for giving us protein or food. We can praise the rain for bringing us water. We can praise, the grains for giving us nutrients when we thought we might die and this might be our last days and our last breaths. Okay, so it's in human nature to want to praise, to give thanks in some sort of appreciation. Now, we don't know if the rest of the animal kingdom does this or not. Like, we've seen little things like crows, crows will give thanks, and you're nice to a crow, they'll remember, and they'll bring you little trinkets and stuff like that. So we don't really understand if the nature world is the same as the human. We have prefrontal lobes here. The prefrontal cortex is the crowning achievement in humanity, which really separates us as the builders and creators of this world over the animal kingdom. So which is why we have faith, we have religion, and we have these beliefs. All right, so now let's get into that, because as the moon is moving into Pisces here, and we're connecting with Mars and Saturn. Okay, these are heavy hitters in the zodiac. Mars is no slouch, and Mars has no problem being aggressive and assertive when it needs to be. And Saturn is here to clean up and make sense of what is an illusion, what is delusional. And we have become full of living in imagination land. We're not rooted in reality anymore, and we can believe and make things up just as we want to. We can make up whatever we want. And we can believe that, we're in the church of the flying spaghetti monster. We can believe that Santa Claus is real. We can believe that the Easter Bunny is real. We can believe that men can give birth. We can believe that women have boners. We can believe, and I know this is going to be like hard for some people to hear this stuff, and I'm going to just lay it out nonchalantly. We can believe whatever we want to believe. But then there's things that are grounded in reality. And sometimes we can have a belief, a certain thought of something that we might feel. And our feelings don't make things necessarily real. And when we have individuals, depending on where you were born and who you came up with, telling us like this is how the world was created. And this is the faith, this is the religion that we have. And this is the belief structure, and this is our belief system. When we talk about the religions, the dogmatic religions, and especially between Judaism, Christianity, and Islam religions, there's a glue there that holds all three of these together, but we can't talk about it. We can't talk about what holds these things together because we each have our own different story that our little communities created that says, my way is the only way, and this is the answer, and this is the truth. Well, where did this come from? Why did we need this? Why? Why is this religious stuff and why are people cramming it down our throats so important to them? Well, it's equally as important to some as it's equally important to me to talk about astrotheology. Okay? So if we go back in time here, in this little area of Taurus, this is where the Canaanites were, Canaanites. This is before Israel, okay, before Judaism. We had Canaans. And in the religious beliefs of Canaanites, we had multiple Els. Els were their gods. Elyon, Elway, Elohim, Elron. Maybe I'm messing that up, okay. So this is the age of Taurus. The age of Taurus. See, our ancestors understood these great ages, as the sun had moved through 2,150 years through each one of these star clusters, right, which we call the zodiac. As the sun moved through these, we understand that this is like a big clock. That's all this thing is here that we pay attention to is a big clock, and we understand that when the sun is at, when the hour hand is at 2 a.m., there's simply going to be more drunks on the road than there is at like 1 p.m. There's going to be higher traffic at 1 p.m. For lunch times. We can anticipate there being higher traffic between 5 and 6 p.m. as people get home from work, right? This is a clock, and this is a system that we use to view things again and again. So knowing that this is a clock and knowing, hey, there's going to be more drunks on the road at 2 o'clock by thousands of years of observing this and documenting it, all right? And this is what we have here. So then the Canaanites, the age of Taurus is over, moving into the age of Aries. The Canaanites became the Jews, all right? And then there was a point in time where Jews became the Christians. Why did the Canaanites become Jews? Well, it's here in Abba Ram, Father Ram. Abba Ram, Father Ram, the father of these religions, meaning that we're following the sun here. That's what we're doing, is we're following the sun. But we've become stuck, all right? We don't want to give up our beliefs. And because the sun, or the moon here, is in the area of beliefs in Pisces and meeting up with Mars and Saturn, saying be grounded in real reality and move into the direction and learn for yourself and understand the difference between what emotions are real and what emotions are not real, right? We can feel unloved, we can feel not worthy, but that's not necessarily real. It can feel very real to us, but it's also part of our imagination, and there's a lot of people here that love you on this planet. Now, again, we're talking more about faith and religion here, all right? So we can believe anything we want. And the world has a really interesting way of telling us that, hey, I want you to believe my belief because that makes me feel better. And we send evangelists out, right? We're talking about now Christians going out and preaching Christianity. But why would Christians do this? Let's go back in time here. This is going to be a pretty chunk astrotheology, eclipse energy, all right? So Canaan's Jews. Jews are representation of the age of Aries, and the Canaans at the end of the age of Taurus converted. Okay, we don't really hear a lot about the old gods of El and everything. We converted. Okay, and just the same as there's a handful of Jews, because the Jews represented the age of Aries. At the end of age of Aries is the age of Pisces, represented by the two fish. Okay, the ichthus here. And, of course, we created the proper information to go out at this time. Here in these ages, we were creating blood slaughter. We had to create human sacrifices. Right here, what was the big thing? There was multiple gods, thousands of different L's. Here in Judaism, they said, no, we're going to just create one God, one universal God. So it's not the God of the wind, the God of the sun, the God of the rain, the God of the seas, the God of the mountains, the God of the fire. No, it's just God, or Yahweh, okay? Just God here. But we still, unfortunately, did participate and practice in ritualistic blood sacrifices. And this was not, maybe the Jews, maybe not the Jews, but as well during this age, this time, this era of life. This is also pagan and Vikings, right? So in the age of Pisces, it solved us a problem. And it said, look, God killed his only son, so you no longer have to create a blood sacrifice. This was creating a solution to a very real problem, all right? And people need guidance. We need guidance as individuals. And when we look at the old temples, old places of worship, they are often facing east with pillars coming up, so that the minister, the person that's preaching the stars, is going to be able to tell you which month it is, where we're at in the year, or the great year, to be able to deliver the message to people on how to live, depending if we're in the heat of the summer, if we're at the end of summer and we need to start preparing for autumn and winter, or if it's the end of winter and we got to prepare for spring and summer times, right? So by observing these columns, by observing the sun where it's at, the minister would be able to preach to the people. Now, this has become an honest issue in the current age, is because they're saying, I'm the holy man, I'm the preacher, I'm the minister, I'm the one that can speak to God. This was a much bigger issue in the past 2,000 years, and it's becoming much more open now, right? And individuals can say, we can say to ourselves, well, there's so much to believe. I don't really know what to believe. I don't want to do the research, so I'm just going to wave my hands of it. Part of the issue with this, and part of why we're talking about this today, because this is, we started the day off in Community Aquarius and moved into Pisces. And if we don't teach people, if we don't teach the youth, if we don't teach the children necessarily a reality based and grounded in truth, then the world is going to feed it its imagination. The world is going to feed it its lies. I was talking with friends last night about Imagination Land, South Park, Imagination Land. And it's like, well, because these concepts have been created, because Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers were created in someone's imagination and they've been brought into the physical reality, well, now we just say that they're real. It's just like, again, this is not grounded in reality. We can say that they've had an impact on people. These movies have had an impact on people, and they might be a little more frightened right now. Or the character Jesus has had an impact on people, and they might feel closer to God or something like that. And that's all good and fine, But when we're talking about rooted in reality, we have to understand what is a personified allegory of something. What is the truth, and what is a fabrication? What is a story that was told over time to be able to help us out through these times? We as humans, we needed a god. We were coming from Zeus and Odin, and these powerful gods, and my God is the most powerful, El. It's just like we had brainwashed one another lightning is more powerful than the water god Poseidon, or it's like, it's all just like this kind of ego talk and storytelling that's really gone wrong over the past thousands of years. And then now when we look in modern time, when we have Christians, let's just talk about Christians. I'm not picking on Christians. We'll just talk about it. They'll talk about, like, Matt Walsh. I watched Matt Walsh on Joe Rogan talking about, Joe asked a very kind question. He's like, well, some people are born this way, or they're born with a desire to appreciate and love the same sex, that's a beautiful thing. It's like, you might be born that way, and that's fine. That's right. You're born that way. That's wonderful. And it's like the Christian answer is just like, no, you can't be born like that, and you're making a mistake, not God. And that's like, that's really fascinating. And we have Christians coming out and saying like, oh, you can't have abortions. It's like, God killed his only son theoretically at the age of 33. Okay, he was if you believe that story. I mean, again, we're talking about the sun, the sun at the age, after the third house, Gemini, at the age of 30, when you have your Saturn return and the sun reaches the height of the summer solstice. Yes, the sun begins to go down again until the winter solstice, as it dies and comes back up again, right? So we're talking about the sun, but totally drifting here. Shit. What was I just talking about? Well, all right. Christians using religious belief systems to put down other people, all right? And saying, this is my belief, this is my faith, this is my religion, and because you're homosexual, I see you wrong in the eyes of the Lord, and Jesus is the only way. It's like, that is awful. I'm going to be honest. That's awful. That's awful to say that your God, that your concept of life and reality, that nobody else can be besides that thing. That's terrible. And then we say that we're a godly or believe, in this faith and all of this stuff. It's like, the story of Jesus, he hung out with sinners and not like the best crowd, according to the stories. We can understand why anyway. So we have a lot of judgment for in Pisces, the 2,000-year game of Pisces. This is the right brain. This is the left brain. This is the right brain. If your left hand sins, cut it off. If your left eye sins, pluck it out. Islam has similar beliefs, and they say don't walk through the door with the left foot, walk through with the right. This is the same concept with the right. If you want to catch fish, cast your net to the right. Right? And in this also, as we're talking about belief in spirituality and Christ consciousness, we're talking about seeing with one eye, which is raising the oil from our spine. If you're a yogi or into Kundalini, raising the oil up our 33 vertebrae until that oil, okay, this is our powerful secretion here from our sexual energy, right? Very powerful energy. So when we meditate, when we breathe, we do breathing exercise, when we do yoga practices, we bring this oil up our vertebrae and we see with one eye. Okay, this is this deep form of meditation where you're going to see monks, meditating out in the tundra and snow, and their beards covered in snow, because they're in tune. Okay, this is that enthusiasm I was talking about yesterday. They're in tune. God is within. Entheo, God is within. It's not an external thing. God is external, meaning you're part of God and I'm part of God. God is seeing itself through me. God is seeing itself through you. So then when we come together, we're God exploring and expanding God. Yeah. So there's a lot of different concepts. To me, it's important that when we look at astrology is the foundation and the base of all these religions. We have these pagan stories. We have these old mythology, these old ideas, old Christian mythology, old Judea mythology, old Egyptian mythology. Even things like Solomon, the Temple of Solomon. Right? When we study, when we do the research ourselves, which that's all what this is about here, is taking it back into our own hands and saying, I'm going to go search this. I'm going to go study this myself. This is the power of this eclipse. When we do this research ourselves, we can figure it out. We don't have to listen to somebody else and just say, oh, they told me this and that's what I believe, or this is their thing. No, it's like I have the ability to take this power into my own hands and dissolve these facades, that's what they are. They're facades. And then furthermore, when we do this, we don't have to go to the store to buy fish. We're learning to be the fisherman. We're learning to look at this chart. We're learning to use astrology. We're learning to understand these great cycles. We're learning to be able to pull ourselves these great spiritual messages and not just have to rely on somebody else to give them to you. You know, it's like wonderful for people to be able to do this. It's wonderful for people to be able to deliver a message. But when we're, it's like what the religions have done over the years. And we have this religion fighting with this one because their God is right and this God is wrong. And we have this religion fighting with this religion because their God is right and this God is wrong. When we break it all down, these are stories of the stars that we sit around for thousands of years and say, this thing that represents this, that we call this goddess or this name, is moving through this star cluster. And what is that story? Oh, and then here comes, Mars coming closer to the sun or whatever it may be. And then Mars represents this and the sun represents this, and we tell this story. And we have people guilting each other here on like Easter Sunday. And if you're fallen out of the faith, if you're fallen out of the religious belief that your family is trying to bestow upon you because they want you to go to heaven or they want you to believe the same thing that they believe. Otherwise, if you don't believe the same thing that they believe, that could potentially ruin the foundation of their concept of reality. Gets tricky, right? So then we become attacked for your beliefs. You get attacked because you don't believe in the same religion that the church has. And they want so badly for you to believe their view and so badly for you to believe their thing. And they say, it's okay, we can talk about it. Can we create evidence? Can we look at what's going on here? Instead of just blindly believing a feeling because somebody else told you that this is what it was, this is where the world came from, and this is how it's going, and this is where you're going to go when it dies. And because you said, I believe in Jesus, thank you for forgiving me my sins. We created that problem. We created that solution instead of cutting a lamb's neck and saying, Lord God, forgive me. I've given you this sacrifice to be alleviated from my sins. Oh, I believe this story right now. I believe the story that you killed your only son for me to be alleviated of my sins. No, it's like we were born. I say it all the time. You're perfect. You're perfectly you. In a perfect world, in a perfect yet ever expanding world, in a perfect yet ever expanding universe. Right? So it's like you're perfectly you and you're expanding. And when we have religions telling you you can't be you, you can't celebrate your queerness, you can't celebrate your differences, you can't celebrate whatever it is that goes against their, concept. Oh, whatever it may be. And then the harsh judgments, and because the majority of the world is Christian, because the majority of the world is religion, and it's like if you're not, and we need to, in a sense, like this, we need strong foundations and strong ideas, and to be able to share these things. It's like, look, you type on YouTube, Jesus isn't real. If you type that in, you're going to find hours and hours and hours of content. If you type in Jesus is real, you're going to find hours and hours of content about that. Okay. So it's like we really have to do some serious digging and serious research in order to find that which we're looking for. Now, I should have started the video out with this, but I'm going to do this right now for whoever's watching, whoever's still paying attention. I might even start the video off like this tomorrow too. Let's right now, wherever you're at, look around your room and see everything that's red. Take a moment and see what is red around you right now. And then close your eyes and then say everything that you saw just now that was brown. Shit. Well, when you're looking for red, you see red. Your brain interprets red. Red is going to be easier to regurgitate. when you're looking for that thing, you're going to find it. If we're a man and we're feeling frustrated, overwhelmed, not appreciated, or that the talk of this patriarchy, which might have literally nothing to do with you, as you might not be part of the 0.5%, 0.05% that actually controls that patriarchy. You might just be a pizza delivery driver. It has nothing to do with that, right? And we're finding people that are bashing you. We're looking for it. If you're a woman and you're seeing the patriarchy and you're seeing the lack of respect for men to women, we're looking for it, right? We're looking for the red, and we're not looking for the brown, because that red, that one thing that lines with our belief system, this reticular activation system, cognitive bias, cognitive dissonance. Why am I screwing this up right now? Cognitive bypass. You know what I'm saying? It's like whatever you're looking for in life is what you're going to find, right? Whatever you're looking for is what you're going to find. And if you feel that you're a victim, if you feel that you're a person of color, that people don't, whatever, if you feel that you're a woman and people don't respect you, if you feel that you're a man and people don't respect you, if you feel that whatever it is, we all deal with problems as human beings here. We're all dealing with similar problems of racism, to our own degree. We're all dealing with different issues of sexism to our own degree. We're all dealing with issues of, comparison and look-alike and tall, skinny, short, fat, muscular, frail, weak, strong, emotional, non-emotional, whatever it is, we're all dealing with very similar problems. And when we focus on those things and we really highlight them, that's all we're going to see. It's all we're going to see is the red. It's all we're going to see is our inadequacies in the world. And we believe it. So I know I've talked about a lot in this particular video. We're talking about seeing the world for yourself, observing it. When we have thousands and thousands of people alive today convinced that a talking snake told a lady to bite some fruit, and that the reason that we feel pain and all of these things is because they ate from the tree of knowledge, and then that man had thousands or like several wives, and then we all came from Adam and Eve, and then oh no, God killed all of them, and let's get Noah's Ark, and we're going to put 2 of each animal. It's like, if we can't really see through some of this at this point in time in our life, that these stories are derived from something else, that they're really derived in moral and ethical code, but shouldn't be taken literally. And that's what the Gnostics said when the Christians started taking this very seriously and believing in this character Jesus. They said that is the most blasphemous thing you can do. Blasphemous, blasphemetic, blasphemy, blasphemer, whatever. It's the most that you can do. Is like, we should not be taking this book literally. We're following this story, moral and ethical code, on how to live a good life, and following the sun that lights our way, that shines down on this earth, so that we know how to maneuver. And then we've taken power and control, and we've kept it for ourselves. And if I can keep you in the dark, that keeps me in the power. And send money. Send me some money. So all of this here is saying, like, put it back in your hands. Put it back in your plate. Don't necessarily believe me. Don't believe your mom, your dad. Don't believe your cousin or whomever. Like, take the time and make it make sense. Do the research. Find the right individuals that you can have the conversations with. Okay, because belief is a very interesting thing, and it's a very scary thing in this world when we can believe something so ferociously that we can turn our own minds against people. We can feel that we're being attacked when we're not. Something else to say right now, something I see right now that I have got to talk about when we talk about the trans community and transphobic. Like, I'm not transphobic at all by any means. I think there's an interesting aspect with language and words and biology that I think the community, personally, I think the community is just neglecting. And that's all right. that's where we're at right now, and we're still figuring this all out. But when we have, let's say, it's like, say, I don't necessarily believe that men can get pregnant. That doesn't mean I don't value you as a person or want to listen to you or give you a big old hug and enjoy some tea and a conversation with you. But that's because I believe in this biology. I believe in the science of things. And I also believe as a human being, you have the freedom to express yourself and express your love and make love and your own sense of ego expression. You can express yourself any way you want, right? But we might just have a difference of opinion about the language. To me, that's okay. And to me, it would be very easy for someone to say you're transphobic, right? And we've seen that thrown around a lot. It's like this word phobic. It's like a phobia is something that you're afraid of. And again, we have this is a belief. We're talking about beliefs right now. That's what all of this conversation is about. That's what this next Friday, Saturday, Sunday is, beliefs. Into Monday, Monday we're going to start to get into Aries. Sunday night we're going to start to get into Aries, and then Monday, of course, is the eclipse. But it's like these next couple of days we're talking about belief and our personal belief and how is the world around us, the community around us, shaping our beliefs to conform to their ideas of our reality. And maybe it's time we start taking our responsibility for ourselves and not saying, I'm going to allow the world to shape my reality. I'm going to allow society to shape my reality. And maybe I haven't done enough research about these religions, and that person feels really adamant about this, and that person feels, so I'm, I'll just believe them or something. Or I'll jump on that bandwagon because I think they're cool. It's like, this is a really important time to do our own research. Not be bullied by people, not be bullied by religions, not be bullied by philosophies, not be bullied by other people's views of what our reality is. And with much love, we should be able to have these conversations. We should be able to have these conversations without things throwing around of hate. And once we do that, it's a whole other ballgame. But we're transforming our community right now. I'm going to call you back to the chart for a quick second here. It's like we're transforming our community. We have to be able to dive deep and, take the action into this right now. Diving deep and figuring out the reality and what is illusory, what is make-believe. And, Neptune here moving in there in 2000, I don't know. It's been there for a long time. Forgive me for not knowing that, but it's been there for over 10 years. Neptune, has it been? At least 2016. But it's like this Neptune in Pisces here is just making a mess of like we don't know what to believe. And illusions are so real right now that we don't know what to believe. And Mars and the moon are all here right now. And this eclipse is all saying, hey, don't believe everything in this house of mirrors. Don't believe everything in the media. God, this is huge. Don't believe everything in the media. Don't believe everything on the TV. Don't believe everything. Your YouTube algorithm is working its way to get you to believe a certain belief. My friend and I had a conversation about this a couple days ago, and we were all talking about, it was me and two other ladies, and we were talking about our YouTube algorithms and what pops up on our feeds. And we were all amazed at like what we search versus what's being fed to us. And what's being fed to you wants you to feel an emotion. It wants to manipulate you. It wants you to talk about things that get you upset and frustrated or give time to it because taking time for ourselves. And is this valuable for me? Is this valuable for me to click on this video knowing that this topic is going to be upsetting to me? Why do I spend my time and energy on this? Can I be putting my time, my energy into something more valuable, more productive, that I can help the community, the whatever, the global thing? Can I why make myself frustrated every day? All right, my friends, this is enough out of me. This has been a long one. I love you. I wish you enough. We'll see you tomorrow.